Hi, class. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my research project that I've been working on during this semester. So I've been working on the history of the Long Island Cotton Mill and Village in Long Island, North Carolina. So my research questions included what was the Long Island Cotton Mill in Long Island, North Carolina? What is its history? How was the Long Island cotton mill significant to Catawba County and the surrounding areas? What economic significance did the Long Island cotton mill and village play in the development of the textile industry in the Catawba County, North Carolina area? So, the significance of research questions. So, spanning more than 32,000 acres and bordering four counties, having more than 520 miles of shoreline, Lake Norman is the largest man made lake in North Carolina. It was made to provide fresh water and flood control to the region. And when that happened in the late 50s, early 60s, it drowned a whole area that a lot of people don't know about. And so underneath Lake Norman are cemeteries, churches, businesses, homes, revolutionary battlefields, all sorts of things that a lot of people don't know even exists today that's there. A lot of newcomers have come to the Charlotte area. It's one of the fastest growing areas in the country right now. And so the Long Island Cotton Mill was actually built in Catawba County in 1852. So it was before the Civil War. It was one of two that were built before the Civil War in Catawba County. And the owners and the employees of the mills have become prominent individuals and families that are still in Catawba County today, which is the county in which I live. Um, and the courthouse that we will talk about in a little bit that actually had a hanging that I found is the old courthouse now in downtown Newton is still standing today. It is actually where the um, museum is, our history museum is today. So it's kind of has come full circle. So it's really neat. So this is so the Mill Village and the mill at Long Island was a community of Mill Village workers, and they supported each other through the Civil War, Reconstruction, several scandals, murder, storm of the century in 1916. And then there was the mill changed hands a few times, its history, and it was one of the first that helped to lead to Catawba County into the manufacturing hub that it is today. Explanation of some key primary sources. I used lots of sources, but a lot of them, the main ones I used was the Digital North Carolina. This is a really neat website that the state of North Carolina has put on, and it has digitized most of all the historical newspapers and a lot of archive collections. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So Digital NC is a neat place to start. The Newton Enterprise is a newspaper that is in Newton still, but it is historic. It goes back to the 1800s. I was able to get a lot of information from that. In fact, most of my information probably came from the Newton Enterprise. Some other newspapers as well. Catawba County, North Carolina Register of Deeds, and the Iredell County Register of Deeds had most of the business deeds where they changed hands as well. Those were my key primary sources. There was some other secondary sources that I used as well, but those were my primary sources. And then principal research methods. I am an empirical researcher. I believe very much in having the questions and let the data or the evidence kind of guide you. So empirical basically means that your conclusions are derived from your concrete or verifiable evidence. And within that, I use quantitative and qualitative research. And qualitative research is methods for gathering and non-numeric data. And then quantitative, if you think of it with numerical data. And I use both those in my research. Also, for my primary sources, I use archival methods, looking through archives, talking to some people at the Catawba County Historical Society, and one of the professors at Catawba Valley Community College helped me out as well. Newspapers, oral histories, and then some secondary sources of professional articles and some books. And then some summaries of some research findings. So in 1852, Long Island Cotton Mill was started by Dr. Avery Powell and his father-in-law, John J. Shuford. And then Long Island Cotton Mill was sold to the Turner Brothers in 1882. There was some sort of scandal I was not able to track down, but like I said, Dr. Powell and Mr. Shuford were Mr. Shuford was the father-in-law of Mr. Powell, of Dr. Powell. So my guess is there was some sort of family dynamic going on. But there was some sort of court case, and they were told to sell the mill. So they sold the mill to these Turner Brothers. Turner Brothers owned a mill that was just a few miles from them, called the Mambo Mill. So they owned it for a few years, and then they sold it to a man named James Brown from New Jersey. And James Brown owned it for a few years, and he really put a lot of money and effort into the mill and made it grow. In 1894, James Brown was found murdered in the company store that he owned. And there was a trial, and it was found out that Thomas Covington murdered him. Thomas Covington worked at the mill, and him and this Mr. Jovey was another man. They had copied keys to the store, and they had been breaking in during the night and stealing little things. And Mr. Brown knew something was missing from the stores. Things were coming missing, and so he decided that he was going to kind of stake out the store. And so he kind of laid in wait. And how the story goes is Thomas Covington came in. James Brown startled him, and he shot him 3 times. Of course, he did not admit to this at first. But eventually in court, everything did come out. Mr. Jovey admitted to making a copy of the keys, and he's like, "Yeah, I did this, and we did break in, but I didn't kill anybody." So he sang like a canary and turned in Thomas Covington. Thomas Covington then became the first white man that was hung in like 15 years, and he ended up being the last public hanging in Catawba County's history. And that was in 1896. He was hanged publicly for murder. So one thing that I learned, kind of on a side uh, story, I guess a side note on this, was that the difference between a public and a private hanging is a public hanging had 35 or more people, where a private hanging had less than that. So that was the last public hanging in Catawba County, North Carolina, and that was in 1896. So in 1897, Long Island Mill had 3,000 spindles. That's how they kind of uh, judge how big the mills are. In 1907, the Monogram School opens, which served both the Long Island Mill and the Mambo Mills, which is what the Turner Brothers owned. And so there was another kind of slight scandal that I found. After the Monogram School opens in the 2000, or I'm sorry, the 1907 1908 school year, there is a woman there that they think is an amazing teacher, and they offer her the principalship for the next school year. And there is some controversy, it says in the newspaper, there is some controversy about her being a female. She is a single woman, and there is some controversy about her being female, and they don't particularly like that. So she withdraws her candidacy and says, I don't want to make waves. And in the newspaper, it basically says, but we hope that she will come back as a teacher. We're going to give her a pay raise. So it kind of alludes that there is kind of this conflict in the community between whether women should be principals or not, which is very interesting with some of the other things that our society is dealing with now. That it was splitting it, things like that. Then in 1916, there was a great flood. In 1916, there was actually two huge hurricanes that hit North Carolina. They were the biggest storms since Hurricane Helene this past fall. And they estimated to be about $50,000 worth of damage to the mill at the time. So it took that was in July, and so it took from July to October to clean up from the flood and all that. So then Long Island machinery restarted in October. So then in 1922, Long Island Mills had up to 6,000 spindles. In 1928, Superior Yarn Mills purchases the Long Island Cotton Mills. Then the groundbreaking for Cohen's Ford Dam was in 1959. And then October 1959, Long Island Cotton Mills closed, and the equipment and some workers went to the Mount Holly plants. In 1962, the Cohen Ford gates were closed. And Lake Norman began to fill, and then the first 3 Cohen's plant turbines came online. And then today, if you go down to the end of the road, the end of what is called Long Island Road in Catawba, North Carolina, you see there is a monument that kind of will say this is where Long Island, North Carolina used to be, because it is under the lake now. So you'll see the monument, and then you will see in the lake, you can't see the picture very well because it's not very low, but you can kind of see that there is in the lake, there's the foundation of the Long Island Cotton Mill, that when it's very, very low, you can see the foundation. This picture, it's not extremely low, so you can't see very well, but you can see a little bit. So that is what it looks like today, down at the very end of Long Island Road in Catawba, North Carolina. So that is a quick summary of what my project was this semester. I hope you all enjoyed that. And thank you, and have a great day. Bye-bye.